Hello ladies and gents, thank you for clicking on this part 2 of week 2 of the Elegant Stylist review. If you are just seeing this video for the first time, you're not familiar with myself, you may not know that I'm taking Anna Bay's Elegant Stylist program and I'm reviewing it week by week. However, week 2 came with a lot of notes and I asked you all if you wanted to see part 2 and you did, so here I am filming that for you. Now very quickly, this is not typically my setup. I am away on holiday at the moment, so do please bear with me with my surroundings and most importantly the people that are watching TV upstairs really loudly. So in part 1 of week 2 I left the video off with saying to you that we may need to either invest in a program that will then help mitigate any trial or errors that we may have on our level up journey, or you can just take the extra bit of time if you have the time and understand that by experimenting and doing these things DIY or on your own, you will probably end up getting to the end goal of acquiring a elegant wardrobe, but you will probably waste more money in the long run because you're experimenting. You're not really following a path or a set of guidelines, or someone hasn't explained to you how to make certain decisions that will make your budget go the longest with a specific set of items that are going to serve you. So those are the two options that we're kind of dealing with here, and that's where I left you off in the last video. Now, one of the things that I particularly loved in this week's lesson, even though again I'm going to repeat it, I said it in the last video, I found it a bit elementary, was the reminder that even though we're often looking for the best value for our money, we need to remember that not all items are created equally. From here, Anna gives us the characteristics that we should be looking for when we're looking to invest in our forever pieces. And then in turn, these characteristics allow us to evaluate and determine, and in turn assess, if something is a fair price point. By fully understanding what qualifies something as an investment piece, allows us to understand that these investment pieces can be found anywhere. They're not exclusive to one brand. They're not exclusive to one place. And I think this is one of the coolest things for me, because even as I'm walking around Karlovy Vary, or when I was in Prague earlier this week, I'm starting to pinpoint certain items and they have no brand attached to it whatsoever. And I'm still able to see that quality and see how it's going to further my wardrobe if I had space in my suitcase to take things home with me. So as I just mentioned, Anna really does go in on how we can really understand that this isn't going to be restrictive to any one brand. And I think you can kind of notice this, that brands have different seasons and you might like this brand this season and you might not like it the next season. But when you learn to spot and pinpoint certain items and certain characteristics, you're going to be able to jump from brand to brand and not be held hostage to one particular store or one particular style. The next thing that I found really useful, and I literally made notes on my phone of what is missing in my wardrobe, is Anna goes through what investment pieces she believes that we should all have. And I think when you start to style yourself, you'll notice that there's certain things that you need as a part of your wardrobe that will help fit certain gaps. For me recently, it was a trench coat. Now I have a trench coat, I'm finding that it's fit so many gaps in my wardrobe. Now you might be thinking, what if I don't have all the money to go buy all of these items that Anna believes that you should have a part of your wardrobe? She then goes in to remind us and encourage us that this isn't a race. You don't need to have all of these things overnight. And if you've followed me for any period of time, you may know that I do a 10-item wardrobe each season. And I actually think that I might be switching that up and changing how I approach that. I might do a little bit of what I'm learning in this program and equally merging it with the 10-item wardrobe, but stay tuned for more on that in the weeks and months to come. I say all of that because Anna then goes in to remind us and encourage us that these things, as I mentioned and as she mentioned, it's not a race, and therefore choosing these items and the items that you choose to invest in now or later, it should come with a strategy. And then that strategy is going to allow you to maximize the budget that you have. Now, Anna touches on the point that if we're too many of these investment pieces all at once, it actually looks quite tacky. I literally saw somebody in Prague this week and I was like, wow, that is way too many logos, way too much of everything all at once. But doesn't that encourage you? Doesn't that encourage you to think, oh, I don't need it all right away because I'm not gonna wear it all at the same time anyways? Because the thing is that if you start wearing all of these things all at once, you start looking like a cosplay character, a caricature, a cartoon character really. And then that does the exact opposite. It starts to look more tacky than elegant, which isn't what you're trying to achieve here. Moving on, Anna then talks to us about how sometimes we're in the middle of a change in our life or in the middle of a transition in our lives. If you've followed my channel for any length of time and you know why I'm in Prague, you can understand where I'm coming from with this one. And with saying that, whenever this change comes or whenever these transitions come, that can mean that the items that we own or the items that we're looking to invest in no longer work for us, or they're not the investment items that we should be purchasing at this moment in time. If this is you, like it is me right now, you should be looking at purchasing investment pieces that don't come with a size attached to it. So maybe that means you're going and investing in a certain pair of shoes or perhaps a scarf or things that just don't come with a size. Now, Anna does go into this in the program, but she talks about how investment pieces, they tend to hold their value. I think one of the things that she doesn't touch on is the fact that if you don't care for these items or if you've worn through these items, obviously, they're not going to hold their values. So I think that there is a pinch of salt that you got to add to some of the things that she says in the program or the statements that she makes in the program. And I'm going to get to another one in a second and you'll see what I mean by that. However, it is a known thing that you can typically sell on these more designer, more high-end items a lot easier than if it was something from Primark. So it is important to choose these items wisely, research them, and invest in them wisely. Which brings us to the next point, and she's almost done this week's lesson. I'm almost done talking about this week's lesson, or week's 2 lesson really, and that is getting a return on your investment. And Anna goes into how we should understand or process whether an item should come home with us or not based off of the return on investment that this item is bringing you. Anna then goes through all the different ways that we should be evaluating ROI, a return on investment, and she then goes into some of the characteristics and consequences for people that are more of the mindset of underspending on things, and then equally she goes into the characteristics and the consequences of people who overspend on things. Now, in regards to the underspending, she does go through how this could negatively affect the future, and I actually think it's quite courageous for her to do, because I think people can often say, well, I don't have the money, or it's great for her to say this, she has all the resources, and so on and so on. And I think that often people think that they can spend the tiniest amount of money or the tiniest amount of their time and everything will work out for them. And I love that she goes into the underspending aspect, because you know that you're often going to get a lot of kickback to that, because no one wants to feel like they're having to spend a lot of money to get a certain result. And she's essentially giving us the advice that we often don't want to hear. But if you're someone that does fall in the camp of underspending a lot of the time, you have to understand and realize and really let it sink in that you are missing out on opportunities, and it's coming at the expense of your own self. Now, if budget is something that is a bit of an issue, Anna then in this last little bit of this week's or week 2's lesson is she goes through how one can resell clothing. Now, Anna says that not all items will sell, and so she says the mid-tier stuff and the high-end stuff, that's the stuff that will typically sell. Now, I don't know how much experience Anna has with that recently, because I know people who make a lot of money off of selling off their Primark, their Zara, etc. They don't get tons for it, but they do get something back for it. And so when she said this was such an absolute in the program, it kind of made me giggle, because a lot of my friends are content creators and they sell on a lot of their clothes and they get a decent amount for it. Will it be as much as they paid? No, of course not. But they can sell it on as long as it's in good condition. I personally am going to be selling on a lot of my stuff. I already have the pile set aside at home for when I get back to England. However, I do understand what she's trying to say. The time that it's going to take people to sell items that are of a lower quality or not as high end, really the time that you're taking to list these items and then package these items and then, you know, sell them on, and you already are at a loss because you're not going to make what you paid for them. Really, it's not the best use of our time. So I totally get what she's saying. However, don't let that discourage you if you do have some items that are on the low end of things. If you do clean out your closet and there is some clothing in there that you want to sell on that is still in good condition, you can totally still sell it on. Anyways, my friends, that is it for week 2. I got it all out now. Thank you so much for your feedback on these videos. I really appreciate it. Thank you for giving me the space and the grace to be filming in different locations this week. Hopefully next week should be a little bit calmer. If you made it to the end of this video and you have any questions, please do let me know in the comment section. And if you're wanting to see what kind of was discussed in the workbook, I have put that over on Patreon, so you'll want to head there. Thanks for watching.